Lip gloss is popping.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are back. Welcome back to another journey, another voyage.
The first one of 2026. So happy New Year.
Yes, happy New Year. First voyage of 2026. Get on board, set your stuff down, grab something to eat, set your stuff aside, relax, find yourself by the pool, wherever you need to be on this voyage. But we welcome you to another journey with At the Helm with Kelli and Wayne.
I am Kelli.
And I'm Wayne, and it is good to be back. And again, Happy New Year. Last time we were together, it was a quick Christmas.
Yep, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. We hopped on for a few moments that evening just to tell everyone Merry Christmas. But we are back, and 2026 has started off with so much.
Kind of how 2025 ended.
So much.
Kind of how this, since January 20th of 2025.
Oh yeah.
It seems like so long. Like it keeps like it's got to be two years already, right?
It feels like it.
It's not even been a year, but here we are.
So we definitely want to maybe even take a quick moment of silence, but definitely keep. I know her last name is good.
Like Renee.
Renee, yes. In family in Minnesota, and not just Minnesota, and so one thing we have to realize too, these are the events that are getting captured on video. There are so many of these same events and so many horrible acts that are happening that are not being videoed and not being able to be shared. So we definitely just want to remember all of these communities that are dealing with this terrorization of this administration. Definitely the life that was lost, the family, the community. It's horrible. And then definitely just want to lift up and pray for folks' sanity, because when you can lie like they do, that it is scary. It really is. I mean, it's beyond the memes and the jokes and making light of it. It is really beginning to be scary when you can show a video and turn around, follow that behind that video with your statements, and have the commentary that you have, and expect people to believe everything you just said. Comment that says someone was ran over, drug under. I mean, it's just ridiculous how this, again, the message and the information. So we are just going to continue to provide good information. We need to make sure, we've shared before, find your media outlets, find spaces where media you can trust, where you can get good information. Pace yourself with what information you can get. Move away, find that space, find that time, stay engaged, but don't get overtaken, because that's what they want to happen. Kelli said it multiple times. They want us to become overwhelmed. They want us to become so bogged down that we just either give up, quit, or we just say, you know what, this circus, I can't deal with it anymore. I'm just going to let it be. So that's what they want. So we have to stay engaged enough to know what's happening, keep information, but also have to protect our mental and health and welfare and self-care and all of that. So we just want to continue to just lift up communities everywhere.
Yeah, and so that what happened in Minnesota yesterday is kind of indicative of what we've been saying, where when we talk about I don't know if it's a parable where, they came for the Jews, and, then they came for the fascists, and they came for, like, they come for all these people, and you sit back and you do nothing. At some point, they're going to come for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of been, and I think this is also part of their plan where that you are just in limbo about really how you feel about things. Like, of course, that someone losing their life at the hands of the police is horrible. But these are the things that we have been talking about as a community, the Black community. We've been talking about these things for a long time. And so now when I see these things that say her name, right? Like you have to be mindful of what that was born out of, because nobody was saying Breonna Taylor's name, right? And so this is another, it just happens to be an instance of where when it's not us, it is a worldwide story. And so just seeing say her name, it just kind of feels different. We want to honor her life. She put herself in harm's way on the line to protect her neighbors, which is what we want people to do. But we also want people to understand that it's a difference when sometimes it's us and we don't hear about it, and when it happens in other communities, then we do hear about it. Because there was a Black man who was killed in LA on New Year's Eve by an off-duty ICE officer. And I don't know if people know his name. Keith Porter. Do we know that name? And so these are the kinds of things that we're talking about. But this administration is doing a very good job of just throwing things out every day. Like, we're not even talking about anymore, we went and kidnapped a country's president. We're not talking about that enough. But we literally went and kidnapped another country's president and his wife. And so this is like, it feels like this is their MO to just kind of keep throwing things out. We don't even have time to process things. We haven't even processed that they're killing people in fish boats in Venezuela. We haven't processed that. We haven't processed that on Christmas Day, we bombed Nigeria.
Yeah.
Any one of these things would be a story for days. But with this administration, every hour we're having to talk about something else that is just ridiculous. And so, again, just be mindful how you curate your news, how you take it in, how we are being desensitized to things. And also remember that it is still us who have the power. Like, I think I saw very recently that the House passed the bill to continue the ACA subsidies for another 3 years. Like, and 7, if I'm correct, that this is real time, so we may have to fact check this, but I think 17 Republicans came on the side with the Democrats and voted for that.
Yeah, the House did.
The House.
Yeah.
That is not, they didn't get there by themselves.
No.
Like, there was a campaign that said, call your representatives and let them know you're getting free healthcare, and you will not just take healthcare from millions of people and let it be done like undercover and nobody says anything about it. We will not be silent anymore. And so it now goes to the Senate, and we will see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But stay on them. Stay on them. Even if you have someone like in our district that you may not have voted for, they still represent you. They are still responsible for making sure that the things that we need, that they're just not just giving tax breaks to the rich, and the rest of us are just out here scratching and surviving with what's left over. Like, even if you did not vote for them, you can call them and say, you are my representative and you are right now not representing my interests, and let them know. Like, it works. It feels like such a small thing, but if enough of us are doing it, it's a really big thing, because I don't know that it would have gotten to where it is. And now we still have to, again, get it through the Senate and then worry about if this president will veto it. But we're going to stay right here in a minute. We're going to celebrate the wins when we get the wins. And we'll worry about what we will do with the people who are supposed to represent us, what we will do with them when the time comes. But we are in 2026. We are gearing up for the midterms. We are, as the NAACP, getting ready for Souls to the Polls. There's only 2 Sundays now. The plan is to take away the Sundays, because this is one of those things that works.
Yes.
When we are able to engage people We are able to empower people. We are able to educate people. We're able to get the people that they're voting for in front of them so that they can ask questions. It makes a difference. And so, of course, their plan is to not have people who are eligible voters. They don't want everybody to vote. They've said that.
That's right.
They don't want everybody to vote. And so we're getting ready to get this information out. And we are planning on February the 15th. Again, it's a Sunday afternoon at the MLK Gardens in Raleigh on MLK Junior Boulevard. Look for information. If you live in Wayne County, you can come and vote with us as a collective that day at any early voting site. But we will be gathering on February the 15th to march to the polls to vote.
Yes. Love it. Love it. And while you're getting ready for February the 15th, on February the 14th, we know it's Valentine's Day. And if you love for your communities to be funded, you love for your schools to be funded, if you love people to have health care, you love for people to be able to get their SNAP benefits, you love people to be able to, everybody to be able to vote. Repairs of the Breach and several partners, one of those being North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, will be having a mass moral march and launch on beginning February the 11th. February 11th, 12th, and 13th, there will be a march from Wilson, North Carolina to Raleigh. They're only going to be marching a couple miles a day, and you can march as long as you want to, short as you want to. You can drive a little bit. There'll be a lot more information that we'll be sharing. There's a press conference tomorrow that's making the big announcement. And then that will be leading up to a massive moral march on Raleigh, similar to the HK on Jays that we had back before 2020, and be gathering. And so on that day to, again, demand the rights of the people, demand that the elected officials begin to do what they should do for our communities and for our people. So we'll have more information on that, but save those dates, mark those dates. So that's, you don't have anything to do now, 11, 12, 13, 14, and the 15th. You got plenty to do. Tell somebody, bring somebody along. And again, little by little, we always talk about, the tools it takes through this movement, and it's everything collectively working together. It's not just voting. It's not just marching. It's not just protesting. It's not just filing legislation. It's not just sending an email. It's not just making a phone call. It's all of those things combined.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of those things combined. And when we do all of those things, things begin to happen. Things begin to move, as we see. As Kelli said, at least the House, there were some people that found some humanity, found a heart, and said we need to make sure people have health care. And when we begin to make these things known, we can celebrate those little victories. So continue to do.
All right. So current events. So I'm just go ahead and put my pen right here. I haven't said anything about the dress. I'm sure everybody knows about the dress.
That's a whole show.
I mean, it is. And if you know me, me and Pastor Brian, we got a beef that goes back several years. And I say beef, that man has no idea who I am. Although he did respond to something that I tweeted about him. That was about 15 years ago. He's just been who he is. But I am coming to the defense of the preacher's wife. Because
you won.
Because I am the preacher's wife. Okay. And in a time when we're hearing about pastors killing their wives, putting them in the trunk, saying they got a toothache, we're hearing about mistresses killing wives, killing pastors because preachers is out here.
Allegedly, reportedly.
Oh no, that was a court case. That was a court case. I don't know if they found her guilty or innocent, but she definitely shot somebody, right? And she went to court for that. And he was a preacher. He was married. Okay. There's a story, that's going around where this preacher done love bombed this lady, then married her, and now 4 months later she pregnant and he want a divorce. Like I don't. There's so much going on with preachers and their wives in the news, and I'm just here to say that being a preacher's wife is a piece of cake. It's a walk in the park, right?
This preacher's wife.
And I am not here. I am not here to judge what anybody does, how they get through. I'm just saying the preaching profession, it takes a lot. Like it takes a lot out of people. Like if it was just a single person, but when you're talking about wives and children that are coming along, like that's a lot. So I don't have no smoke for Dr. Carrie Bryant. She can do what she want to do. We've been married for 32 years. I did not marry a preacher.
Hold on. We got
32 years. Yes, that is a great accomplishment. I didn't marry a preacher. I never wanted to be married to a preacher. But when he became a preacher, that required other things. What I decided for me is that I'm just going to be me. That's really all I can be. So I'm going to show up how I show up. I do understand that there are expectations that people place on the pastor and his wife. I don't receive those expectations. Like I am going to be who I feel like God has called me to be. I am not going to do anything that is outside of what I feel the will of God is, but that my walk does not determine anybody else's walk, and what they wear, how they dress, how they show up. I'm fine with it. And just to put this in perspective, I once had somebody tell me that she wished that I acted like her pastor's wife acted. And I took that into consideration.
Oh, let me find my mute button.
And this was somebody who I had known all of their childhood. And I can tell you today that I never spoke to that person again. Right? It's like, cause why? That was not ever going to happen. That I was going to act like somebody else, how somebody else was acting, and I was not going to allow. I'm never going to allow anybody to draw a box and put my face in it and think that that's how it's going to be. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So for all of the people who out here who got something to say about a dress, like I just told you about healthcare. I just told you about voter suppression. Just told you about ICE killing people in the streets. Like there are so many things that we have to be worried about. We are going to bring on a guest that's going to talk about the death penalty and how that is affecting poor and Black people in North Carolina. Like, where do we even have time to put a dress in all of these things that we legitimately have to be concerned about? I don't have no smoke for Dr. Bryant. I thought she looked good. If that's not for you, that's probably not the church for you. Don't go there. Go to the church where your first lady is buttoned up with a turtleneck and stockings. Find you a place.
Find your place.
If you love God and you want to walk in his way, find you a place. There is a church that is for you. That lady don't know you. She don't care what you think about what she had on. I saw her interview on Tamara Hall yesterday. They don't care.
They don't.
They out here living the dream. Mm-hmm. They are a celebrity couple. And that may be all they want to be. But if you show up to their church, just know that those are the people that you have chosen to show up to their church.
And she ain't wear it to church.
She didn't wear it to church.
She was out on the town.
They raised money for
$4 million for HBCU,
the United Negro College Fund, and we had one of our local pastors to say she looked like a two-bit whore, is what he said, a $2 whore, is what he said. And Jamal stood up in the pulpit, and that's another thing. Find you somebody who don't play about you. Don't play about you, because
that's right.
I hope that if anybody ever called me anything outside of my name,
it's on.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
On Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the days.
Yeah.
All right. So now I know we got to go, but you went in, but you dealt with the the white side.
Okay.
Real quick.
All right.
Since we
Real
here.
quick. We
Real
do have a
quick.
guest.
We got a guest. So for the clergy side, again, all the things that you said, we got people out here losing health care. We got people losing SNAP benefits. We got people nowhere to live. People are being killed in the streets. And you worried about that's your message. And if you really follow Jesus, Jesus was never concerned about what somebody had on, what they wore. He was concerned about the impact of their life. He was concerned that they had the necessities of life. Concerned, said if they were thirsty, give them something to drink. They were hungry, feed them. He was not concerned about the outside and what people look like. Those were the Pharisees, Sadducees. Those were religious leaders, and we still have some. But again, you have all of that energy. Focus it on lifting up a community. Because I'm pretty sure that dress didn't cause anyone to lose health care. Didn't cause anyone to fall short in public school. Didn't cause the price of eggs to go up. Didn't cause the housing market to do anything. That dress caused nothing. Nothing. How does it free us? That dress has nothing to do with how people are living. And so if we're going to be like Jesus and we're going to preach Jesus, then we need to be concerned about what Jesus was concerned about. People's health and wealth and mindset. So I'm done.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Pass the hat. All right. So we are grateful tonight to have a guest on tonight who is going to bring us a wealth of information and who has is just as concerned about the community as many organizations are. So our guest tonight is Ms. Noelle Nichols. She is the executive director at North Carolina Coalition for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. She serves as executive director. Prior to that, she worked as a mitigating specialist on trial and post-conviction death penalty cases in North Carolina and South Carolina for many, many years, working in partnerships with others. She has been doing this work for many years. She led NC, the Coalition for Alternatives to Death Penalty, 2-year computation campaign, which resulted in former Governor Cooper commuting 15 death sentences on the last day of his office. So we are grateful for that she, again, continued to push and did not give up. So we are glad tonight for her to be here. So everyone, welcome to our group. Miss Noelle Nichols. Welcome to At the Helm with Kelli and Wayne. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
We were going to have you on. So this bill passed in October. I think we were going to try to get you on.
Oh, yes.
Before now, but it just kind of worked out that you're here with us tonight. It is still just as relevant, though, and heinous as it was on October the 1st when it first passed. And so we are glad to have you here with us to talk to us more about what this HB, the House Bill 307 is, how it affects us as citizens of North Carolina. And, you know, we just talked about what we can do once things are passed, like what is it that we can do? So, yeah, please enlighten us about what HB 307 is.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Kelli and Wayne. I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk with you all. And, you know, we can talk about the death penalty. We can talk about criminal punishment system in our state. But the reality is everybody wants to be safe, right?
Yes.
And we know what keeps us safe. Mass incarceration actually doesn't keep us safe. The death penalty does not keep us safe. And so the death penalty in particular has become highly politicized. And that really was the impact of House Bill 307. It became a political tool and would not have, had it been already passed into law, it would not have prevented the tragic, tragic murder of Miss Arina Zarutska in Charlotte. And so what I want to lead with is that we have to communicate to our lawmakers. We have to demand what we know keeps us safe. More mental health services, more robust services for people when they reenter our communities after incarceration, services for survivors of violent crime. And then even before then, some of the needs that you mentioned, Wayne, making sure that people have basic health care. Nobody goes to bed hungry. Everybody has shelter over their heads. That's the first line of making sure that we're safe, is that everyone's needs are met. And so when the death penalty, when over-sentencing and mass incarceration become politicized, our basic needs are not being met, and our communities are no safer at all. So it was in response to this horrific murder, although Ms. Zarutska was murdered in August. And the result of it is not just provisions that address the death penalty, but also broader criminal legal reform. You all probably remember some of the great work that was done around ending cash bail. We know that cash bail disproportionately impacts poor people, disproportionately impacts people of color. And so with the passage of HB 307 into law, the opportunities for pretrial release without posting bail are much, much less. They have really attacked the discretion of magistrates and some of our judges to try to undermine their discretion. And so pretrial release is much more strict now. The result of that, and even some conservative lawmakers realize this perhaps too late, but it means that our jails are going to be all the more overcrowded. We're going to hold on to.
We're speaking about safety too.
Yes.
We're talking about safety. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're holding on to people innocent. They haven't been proven guilty. This is pretrial. Mandatory involuntary mental health evaluations. Of course, we want people to have access to mental health treatment, but these involuntary commitments do not meet those needs. No financial provisions, no money allocated for increased services at all. And then specific to the death penalty, two very, very serious provisions. One increases the methods of execution available for our state to use, and it is very broad. The new law simply says that any method of execution that has not been proven unconstitutional in another state is eligible for us to use in North Carolina. So South Carolina has started using firing squad. Can you imagine? And one of those executions in particular, they use the word botched to talk about an execution that doesn't go as planned. I think that's a euphemism. These executions that don't go as planned, they're torture.
Yeah.
And so a man,
unusual.
Yeah, a man who was executed in South Carolina by firing squad, they missed his heart. And so House Bill 307 allows the possibility of firing squad to be used, electrocution, which hasn't been used in North Carolina in many, many years, even gas, poisonous gas, to be used. The second provision that is significant for the application of the death penalty is that it shortens the appellate process. So when someone is sentenced to death, there's a very complicated, long appeal process because we don't want innocent people to be sentenced to death. I personally don't think anyone should be sentenced to death, but even those who support the death penalty agree we should not sentence innocent people to death. By the way, we've had 12 people exonerated from North Carolina's death row. 12 people fully innocent. I believe we still have innocent people on death row now, but we have had 12 people proven innocent, 11 of them men of color. I hope we'll have time for me to unpack a little bit more about the statistics of the systemic racism of the death penalty. But going back to House Bill 307, it has shrunk this appellate process to 2 years. And if you can't prove your innocence in that amount of time, too bad. If you look at the men who have been exonerated, those 11 men, 3 of them I happen to know quite well.
Mhm.
The 3 of them combined, Henry McCullum, Ed Chapman, Alfred Rivera, they spent 156 years wrongfully convicted on death row.
Wow.
Mm.
And so you mentioned that this bill came about because of the fatal stabbing that happened in Charlotte to Arena. They named it Arena's Law, and in 2 months they were able to pass this bill. And yet we are still the only state in the country that does not have a budget. They
Mhm.
have not been able to pass a budget that would, pay our teachers, that would expand Medicaid, that would do all of these things. But for some reason, they wanted to push this through, and that is always a red flag when legislators want to push something. And this General Assembly has been notorious for
Yes.
pushing things through in the dead of night when they think nobody's watching, to get these done. So, but what you say about the 12 people who were exonerated from death row, that is disgusting, really. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what other words. About 2 years ago, Wayne and I were part of a group that camped out in front of then Governor Cooper's mansion, demanding that he pardon several people who had been exonerated, but without a pardon, they could not get a little bit of money because it's not enough to take someone's life for 40 or more years.
Mhm.
And at that time, during his first term, he had not exonerated or pardoned anybody,
That's right.
but he did pardon a couple turkeys. I think
Mhm.
he did.
Yep.
He did do that.
Mhm.
And so this is not a partisan issue because we were protesting in front of a Democratic governor's mansion.
Right.
Yeah.
This, and I want you to talk more. You said, you hope we have time. We're going to make time to talk about those lives, those real people who sat in jail for a total, just the 3, for a total of 156 years.
Mm.
We're going to talk about that.
So I misspoke. It's the total 12 that were 156 years.
Oh, the 12 of them.
But
Yeah.
Henry McCullum himself spent close to 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the names that we were wearing were Dante Sharp.
Yes.
Ronnie
Um,
Long. Well, Ronnie had already been. So Ronnie Long did 40 years.
Yeah.
Yes, and he wasn't on death row, but the thing that I'll point out for
Yeah.
some of those excessive sentences, James Richardson, who is still incarcerated wrongfully and is innocent, some of those cases, they received a life without parole sentence as a lesser sentence compared to the death penalty. So as long as we have the death penalty on the books, life without parole is seen as a more merciful sentence. As long as we have the death penalty, sentencing is more excessive, more racist. We have more wrongful convictions.
Yep.
And so as long as that, Henderson Hill is an amazing capital defense attorney in North Carolina who's done incredible work all across the country, actually. And he says, as long as we have the death penalty, we have that gorilla in the room, it skews the entire criminal punishment system.
And it's amazing how, you say they can pass legislation that says that we can shorten that window to 2 years, that if you can't prove yourself innocent in 2 years, but these people that, and people that we know, it takes them years to even do an appeal. And
That's
then when someone comes up and says, we have evidence that may be able to exonerate this person who's been wrongfully, it's just like, okay, we'll get to it. And it's years before it can come back up. But they can shorten windows of the conviction time. And then again, it leads back to just the criminality of the entire system.
That's right.
of what they're doing, of the plan almost of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And Kelly, you mentioned that this legislation was passed very quickly. You can contrast it to House Bill 270, which was last spring, when the legislature tried to add additional execution methods. The bill went to committee, and we have an amazing group of individuals who have lost family members to homicide. They have family members who have been murdered, and they oppose the death penalty. And so those individuals reached out to legislators. There were phone calls made, there were emails made, and the bill did not go to the floor for a vote. And yet House Bill 307, exactly like you said, Senator Berger in the 11th hour amended the bill to add these provisions about the death penalty and slipped it through without communities having an opportunity to really voice their opposition to it at all.
And those are the types of things that we cannot let go unnoticed. Like, we are going to call these things out. And with whatever platform you have, like, this is what we use, but everybody lives somewhere. Everybody has a representative. And these are the kinds of things that we need to be contacting them about.
Yeah.
And so, and I know we talk about, I talk about race a lot because it's what this nation was built on, right?
Yeah.
There's no way around it. And so talk about how when you talk about racism and the criminal justice system, like what that actually looks like in a real person's life. Like, why is it just people of color who will be mostly impacted by this bill? Just tell us kind of why that is.
Well, the history of the death penalty in North Carolina and other states too is inextricably linked to racial terror lynching. There's just no denying it. It's today's modern day iteration of lynching. And we have a film that we share with communities. Thousands of North Carolinians have now seen it. It was developed by the Center for Death Penalty Litigation. It's entitled Racist Roots. And it really draws that direct line from our history as a state to where we are now. And you just can look at the data. I mentioned 11 of the 12 men wrongfully convicted, sentenced to death in North Carolina were men of color. 60% of our death row is people of color. The demographic for our state is 38%. More than half the people sentenced to death on death row were sentenced by an all-white or nearly all-white jury. And then the race of the victim also really makes a difference. If you're charged with a capital crime in North Carolina, regardless of your race as a client or defendant, it's the race of the victim that is a strong predictor as to whether you're going to be sentenced to death. If that victim is white, 2 to 3 times more likely to get a death sentence. That's still true today.
And those are not really statistics that we can argue with. And for the racists out there who think, Black people are committing more crimes, and that's why the statistics are higher, we want to debunk that, like, right now.
No, I mean, the reality is that, the majority of homicides, or a district attorney does not pursue the death penalty. On our website, let me plug that in if I may, nccadp.org, we have a map of the state. And so, start with the fact that 23 states in our country do not have the death penalty. So North Carolina does. But if you look at our state, some district attorneys pursue the death penalty more than others. Wake County, your district attorney pursues the death penalty disproportionately compared to other district attorneys. Same for Forsyth. But if you look in the middle, Orange, Chatham, Durham counties, those district attorneys were elected on platforms of not pursuing the death penalty. So it's disparate according to geography. It's disparate according to race. And there's no way you can say that it's applied fairly.
Yeah, and that brings up a question. I was just talking about souls to the polls. In Wake County, we have a race for the district attorney.
Absolutely.
And so these are the questions that we need to be talking to our candidates about.
Yes.
That's right.
We need to know where they stand on the death penalty. So when we say that you must be educated, this is what we mean. Like we want to give you this information so that when you go to a candidates forum, or they come to your church, because they're coming to your church.
Right.
They're coming to your church. These are the questions that we want to ask them. And we are not just going to let them off the hook with the political answer, because we have the numbers. And again, this is not a partisan issue.
Another number for people to be mindful of is the cost. So,
Yes.
we could spend this money in ways that would keep us safe. $2.16 million is the cost that we talk about for a death penalty case. And part of that is because the appeal process is so long and expensive. Again, we don't want to execute innocent people, but from start to finish, that's a lot of money. Imagine what we could do with that amount of money. And the vast majority of cases of homicides, as I said, district attorneys do not pursue death. And a decreasing number of juries are rendering death sentences. But I just got the information today. We have 17 capital cases scheduled currently for 2026. Most of those will not go to trial, thankfully. But why do we even need to declare a case capitally? It is so that most punitive, harshest sentence can be leveraged. Let's eliminate that and really start using our resources and funds for things that will actually keep us safe.
Like mental health. Like we mentioned that the person who fatally stabbed Arena was someone who had mental health challenges.
That's right.
And we've seen here in Wake County just last week where someone broke into a teacher's house and tragically killed them. And again, there were documented mental health issues. And so when you talk about what we can do with that money, that is money that we could use to provide services to those who are who have these mental health challenges. But this bill does not put money in the budget that we don't have. It doesn't put money in the budget for that.
No.
And you mentioned that it also strips away some magistrates' decision making about what that looks like.
About what they can do.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are just joining us, we have Ms. Noelle Nickel, who has joined us this evening, who is Executive Director for North Carolina Coalition for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, has decided to join us this evening, and we're thankful for her being with us. And I noticed on your website when you mentioned too how much, and these are things that people are not aware of, that people need to, that was an interesting fact. It costs more to execute someone than it does to house them, because of the, what you laid out of the things that they have right to. They have right to extra attorneys, extra information, and all of that. So it takes more money. Of course, there's more people making money. And even when both of y'all were talking about, the district attorney whose seat is up in North Carolina, and House Bill 307, all of these things start on the local level.
That's right.
And, even this House Bill 307, people don't, the cashless bail, how that, you were saying earlier, how that impacts so many people. Now people are not allowed to be able to leave on their own recognizance. They just can't sign. And so you begin to criminalize people for very small things. And then, they have to spend that much more time incarcerated in, waiting for court dates when they shouldn't have to be. And
the impact on families, you think about children who have a parent who is awaiting trial in jail. is not able to work, is not able to provide for their children. It's
Yeah.
a huge ripple effect for people who don't have the financial resources.
It really is. And when there was a report, a story of a lady who was local to this area a couple years ago, got stopped. They identified they were looking for someone who did like a robbery or something. It was some crime. Well, they stopped this lady and said she fit the description.
Hmm.
They took her to jail, did not let her out. She had a child. So when a child could not be taken care of, now CPS got involved. So now her child is dealing with this. She stayed in jail long enough. She lost a job. She couldn't pay for a car. So then her car got repossessed. Where she was staying at, of course, they got wind of it. Now she can't work. She lost her house. And this was all for, house bills like this, like 307, that really criminalize and are really not trying to, help people. Because, there could have been something. You picked up a suspect and, didn't have an opportunity to listen, didn't take the opportunity at the time to even try to find out. And so, like you said, giving these magistrates and giving all of this power and authority to a few people to make decisions when someone comes before them for a few minutes that could impact them for the rest of their life. And that is on so much of a local level that we as communities can put people in places, that have some sympathy and have some, a little more, discerning processes of just saying, okay, we pick someone up and you strip them from their humanity initially. And when you take that away from them, then I can treat them any type of way and I can put them in and I don't care what happens after that. And so when you have people and it begins to go down that route and we forget that people struggle, people have hard times, people make bad decisions. But when we take the humanity away from them immediately, we're allowed to put them in a cell and not care about what happened to them and leave them there and call it due process and call it all of those things. And it's just that ripple effect that goes from someone who, like Ronnie Long, went to the courthouse for a ticket, ends up spending 42 years behind bars for something he did not do. That is unacceptable. When we have, that's just unacceptable.
I do want to offer hope.
Oh yes, yes.
That's what I was gonna say. I didn't hear a question in there, Noel,
no.
but
may I respond?
so that we don't fall into this hole of despair. Please.
Yeah, no, and we really root our work in community and particularly in centering the voices of people most impacted by the criminal punishment system. I've already mentioned folks who are exonerated, folks who have lost loved ones to homicide, also people who have lost loved ones to execution. And we build community together across all kinds of divisions and differences and really celebrate the strength that we can have when we work together. The reality is we haven't had an execution in North Carolina in almost 20 years. We're going to mark 20 years on August 18th this summer, and we're going to have a series of events. I would love for your listeners to join us when we're in Raleigh around that date. And what we really uplift is that when we join together and we're educated about the realities of the racism and the cost and the lack of deterrence of the death penalty, that we actually can make a difference. And we already have. The fact that we have not had executions in almost 20 years is very significant. But we do have the 5th largest death row in the country. And most people don't know that, 122 people. So we're really energized when we come together. It's a great opportunity for people to hear stories. Like I say, we really amplify the stories of people directly impacted. We sing, we celebrate art by people on the inside, and I'm hopeful, but it's going to be a journey. We're not there yet, and particularly in today's broader political climate, it's a scary time for so many people. And I don't underestimate that either. I know there are lots of causes and concerns that people have, and because we're not actively executing, it's sometimes a little harder to help people find us and get motivated. But we really do need people to be educated and speak to their lawmakers, their district attorneys, and reinforce the message that we don't need the death penalty in North Carolina.
So now I do have a question. And this should have been a
We don't have
question.
time for it. Oh, but go ahead.
Just quickly. So this was a question that I was meant to ask super early. So what events, how did you get involved in this work? What, was there a moment? Was there a time? What led you to this?
When I was 11 years old in 1976, I marched in an anti-death penalty march between my mother, who was an attorney, and my father, who was a United Methodist minister. And when we returned home to our rural East Tennessee home, my dad was told by he had a circuit at the time, a United Methodist circuit of 5 small rural churches, and one of them said, "You're no longer welcome in our pulpit." And that really triggered in me an awareness that for something that was so profoundly important to me and my family's faith, that not everyone was on the same page about that. And so hearing people's stories, meeting people where they are, and listening to their concerns has really been kind of a life journey for me. My background is in social work. I did both of my field studies in social work graduate school in prisons. But I believe that we really need to more deeply listen to one another and engage on that personal level. And if you hear the stories of someone who's exonerated from death row, or if you hear the stories of someone who has lost a loved one to homicide, who says, "You killing the person who killed my person does not make me safe or bring closure or healing to my life," if you hear those stories, you cannot step away unchanged. Those stories have changed my life, have touched my heart. And so I'm really passionate about amplifying direct experience stories to help change people's hearts and minds.
That's awesome. So we thank you, Nicole, for coming and giving us this information. We have put your website information in our chat so that people can go and check out the chat. So that is one way that we know that people can get in contact with you. You've given us dates that you may come to Raleigh, and so we want people to show up for that. So are those the majority of the ways that people can support?
I really encourage people to sign up for our email list. We don't flood your inbox too much. We really, when we need you to do something, we ask you to do it. And we are embedded in broader criminal legal reform as well. We don't silo just focused on the death penalty. And so we work with 23 partner organizations. We really love to go into communities and do a film screening or have a panel of impacted people. So if folks are interested in us coming to where you are, I'm happy to do that as well. But sign up for our email, stay informed, and don't give up hope.
All right. And so, Noelle, normally at the end of our show, we do a disembarkation where we just kind of leave little life, just advice for people. So is there anything that you would want to impart into the people as you disembark?
It's carrying on that theme of hope. A lot of folks may have heard of Ella Baker and Ella's song with that popularized and very important phrase, "We who believe in freedom cannot rest until the killing of a black man, a black mother's son, is as important as the killing of a white man, a white mother's son." But what folks don't know is that Ella Baker also said, "This may only be a dream of mine, but I believe it can be made real." And I truly believe that as we stand together, as we walk together, as we work together, that we can bring a more beloved community to North Carolina, that we can eliminate as best we can the systemic racism that we have in our criminal punishment system, and that ultimately we will abolish the death penalty.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Again, that is Noelle Nickel of the North Carolina Coalition for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. Noelle, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in these streets.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks to both of you.
All right. Good
Take
night.
care. Good night.
All right.
All right. Thankful for Noelle and that organization. North Carolina Poor People's Campaign is one of their partners. Saw them on their website and so many others. So go to their website, visit the website. There's a lot of good information on there. When I was looking over it today, there was a lot of good information. There's also a form that you can fill out on there. You can go on there that says you are against the death penalty. I'm pretty sure Coalition would love you to not only join the movement, but also fill out that form that says you stand against the death penalty.
And I know it sometimes may feel like a heavy lift, like when we say, we're hitting the streets or we're marching. Like a lot of people do not want to participate in that, and I think there may be some fear factor, fear of the unknown. But I promise you, once you are in the space with people who are fighting for the same thing that you are fighting for, you are energized. And it just kind of, for me, just kind of feels like what you should be doing. And so we invite you, anytime that we invite you out, just find us. You can walk beside us. You can, but it's important that we are out here fighting for things that are important to us. And things that are affecting our community, and fighting against this death penalty is one of those things. Another one of those things while we're here is we talked about mental health, and while we were talking with Noelle, and I also want to uplift the Black Mental Health Conference that is coming to Raleigh on February the 13th and the 14th. I will drop that also in the chat so that you have this information. If you are a social worker, doctor, if you work, in the correctional system, if you are anywhere where Black people are, that's everywhere, just in case you didn't know. This is the conference that is for you. And so the conference is still looking for participants. They are still looking for sponsors. And so I think this will be, it's going to be an amazing event. Jonathan Majors and Macon Good are the keynote speakers. And you will, be able to network and get some very good information about how to work with people of color in your respective spaces. And I do want to uplift, like we just heard another Black woman who was a doctor, who was a midwife herself, who died in childbirth this week. These are the things that when people are not culturally competent, when people don't believe Black women when they say there's pain, like these are the types of things, that is the outcome. And so conferences like these will just kind of help you make sure that you are fully present when you are working with Black people, and that you understand we should not have to teach that Black people are humans and humanity, but sometimes you got to teach it. So we just invite you to just click on the link, get more information about the conference. If you know someone who struggles with their own mental health, or you are someone who provides mental health services, or again, someone who services Black people wherever they are, this is the conference for you. All right.
Was that your disembarkation?
We're going to go ahead and call it that. Yep.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm just.
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay, that was good. Good. I want to shout out all of those who joined us this evening, and I'm going to stay along the lines of Noelle and this, to keep that hope. And it's difficult sometimes, but we have to. And we always share, and we always talk about that everyone can do something, that we all can do something. And I will continue to lift up, since we had her on tonight, the North Carolina Coalition Against Alternatives for the Death Penalty. Website, ncadp.org. There's a pledge. There's a pledge, the No Death Penalty Pledge. And it says, it's time to abolish the death penalty in North Carolina once and for all. It's time to build a legal system rooted in equity and compassion. Add your name. Each signature builds momentum toward a statewide movement for justice. Together, we can build a North Carolina free from state killing. And so when we talk about what we can do, a signature on this pledge helps build momentum. So that's not going to the street. That's not having to travel 100 miles away to go somewhere. That's not a donation. That's not, you can do all of those things too. But just filling out this pledge builds momentum because names go on. And that just adds to the people that are concerned about what's happening to our communities. So again, that's hope that we can all do something. So again, thanks everyone for your journey. Thanks everyone for joining us on this voyage. And until we meet again, everyone be safe. Everyone have a good week, good weekend. Remember all the dates. Remember everything that's happening.
We'll put them in the chat.
Put them in the chat.
Because we can't even remember all the dates.
And I forgot one, January 12th, which is this coming Monday, 10 o'clock. 333 Fayetteville Street in front of Ted Budd's office. We will be having a more Monday lifting up. And because they're voting on this health care, it's in the House, and we need to put some pressure on these senators to pass this bill so people can have health insurance. I want to be blessed. Have a good evening. Good night.